Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Naya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Prapta Sakalyana Gunana Vasa Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Prapta Sakalyana Gunana Vasa Vande Gurashi Charana Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Charana Ravindam Vande Gurashi Charana Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Vajo Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Vajo Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Yuktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasadam Satana Truptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasadam Satana Truptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Kritaiva Trupte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Kritaiva Trupte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Shiradhikama Vabayurapara Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Shiradhika Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Danalalupasa Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Pratikshana Danalalupasa Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Ne Kunja Yono Ratike Disidai Jajari Vir Yukti Apekshaniya Nikunjayo Ratikerisithai Jayayide Yukte Apekshaniya Tatratidakya Ativalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Sajjadharitena Shamastashashre Uktastatha Bhagataiva Sadhvi Sajjadharitena Shamastashashre Uktastatha Bhagataiva Sadhvi Kintu Prabhaja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Tasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Tasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Dayam Stubham Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Dayam Stubham Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Same Niti Namine Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Dishata Dine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravane Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Nityananda Shri Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Haraya Namah, Krishna Jadavaya Namah, Hare Haraya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah, Jadavaye Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah. Gopal Govindaram Shimadhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Shri Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Jaya Baladeva Jaya Sitaram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jaya Vishwapara Paramansa Prabha Jagacharya Stutara Sasishimar Iskon Pratishta Bhakti Samstavakachara Vaishnav Ceremony Gaura Priyajana Krishna Prema Bhakti Data Patita Pavana His Divine Grace of Hocharavina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patita Udhar Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Kutu Vishnu Vrind Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Ji Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Brahmanam Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinanda Nishman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mavrinaya Avatar Ki Jai Kolukera Pramadhan Harinam Sankirtan Jaiga Ki Jai Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihat Midanga translated into book distribution Seva Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopukutna Radha Kund Syama Kund Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brajabhum Vrindavan Mathurdham Ki Jai Dear Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai Shri Mayapurnavadip Eka Chakradam Ki Jai Paramakaruna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Purushottama Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Srimati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanishingare Bhagavan Ki Jai Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai श्रीमती राधारानी की जय, समवेत भक्तबिंद की जय, निताय गौरी प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories, glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Salad Lad Daine. Salad Lad Daine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha.
Hiranyakashipu vaksha.
Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato Yato Yamita To Narsimha
Jato Jato Jamita To Nisinga.
Mahe Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha
Mahir Nisinga Hridaye Nisinga. Narasingamadim Sarana Prapade. Abakara Kamalavare Nakam Aluta Singa Dalita Hiranyakasi Tanabinga Isamadita Naradinopa Jai Jagadisare Jaya Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare.
Keshamadita Narahari Rupa Jagadishare Jaya Jagadishare
Jaya Keshavadrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisa Hare Jai Jagadisa Hare Jai Jagadisa Hare.
Jaya Narasimha Narasimha
Jaya Nisingare Nisingare Jaya Nisingare Jaya Nisingare.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Tagora Haribo 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 Nitagora Haribo. Shri Vidna Vinashak Narsimha Dev Bhagwan ki
Jai.
Prahlad Maharaj ki
Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namaha. What do you want? Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataya Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai Tulasi Maharani. You want to sing?
Yes, I'm tuning.
You have to tune from here.
No, I want to first find my. Maybe this one?
It's up to you. I don't know what you.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I sing the
You,
song?
maybe after you know Trucy song?
I don't know.
Okay. So then you can sing another time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I
Thank you so much.
Thank
We really like you, but it's a different tune, right? Yeah. So, Prabhuji? Oh, you can sing. Yeah, there's different tunes. Sorry.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha.
Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Ei Abhilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Hey Abhilasi.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha.
Je tumhara sharan loe tara vancha purna hoye.
Je tumhara sharanala Tara vancha purna.
Kripa kori koro tare Vrindavan basi.
Tumhe kripa kare kar tare Vrindavanavasi.
Muraiya Bilas Kunj Diyo Bal.
Moraya Vilas Kunj Diyava.
Nayane Hari Bo Sada Jugal Ruparasi.
Aminayane Revo Sada Jugala Ruparasi.
Ei nivedana dharo sakhiranu gata koro.
Ei nivedana dharo sakhiranu gata koro.
Seva adhikara diye koro nija dasi.
Seva adhikara diye koro nija dasi.
Dina Krishna dase koe ei jena mora hoye.
Dina Krishna dase koe ei namora.
Shri Radha Govinda preme sada jena bhasi.
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 Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi. Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi. Namo Namaha.
Yani Kani Papashani Brahma Hatya Dikhani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Janika Nisa Papani Brahma Tari Kanisa Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakina Pade Pade.
Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahma Hatya Dikhani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Janika Nisa Papani Brahma Tari Kanisa.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jayo Vrinda Devi, Jayo Vrinda Devi, Jayo Vrinda Devi, Jayo Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय,
जय।
वृंदा देवी की जय।
Shri Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Jishmati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. O Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of years wishes to fulfill, study myself on him, making resident of Vrindavan. My desire that you also keep grant me a residence of the groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold beautiful Radha and Krishna. I beg to make me a follow characteristics of Raj. Please give me the privilege of personal service and make me own myself. This very fallen Bodhisattva Krishna. May I all sing loud Shri Radha and Govinda. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi ki jai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikyastakam ki Cheto Rapunamani Prabhamahadavani Vapanam Sheyakari Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Badhu Jivanam Anandam Bodhivardhanam Padipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudarija Sarva Shaktis Tatratitani Amita Smrane Nakala Shita Bhakripaya Bhagavan Mamaki Durhaivam Vidrisham Ya Janinanuraga Trinarapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagari Shakamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Shari Bhavatar Bhakti Rahituki Twai Ainanatanu Kinkaram Paritam Mam Visame Bhavambudo Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nanam Galorashrudharaya Vadanam Gadagada Hridaya Gira Pulakai Chitam Papukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavisati Chugahitam Nimishena Chakrusha Pravasaitam Shunyaitam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Aslishava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adashnan Marmahatam Karotuva Jatatathava Vidadhatulam Pato Matpranatastu Saivana Para Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kristakam ki jai. Namo Varannaya Krishna Prema Pradanti Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Dvishema Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart with the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully test the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself a Lord and stroll in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your casual devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I'm following this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, or will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? Or will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world of your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if sandals me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kristakam ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Vishma Deva Bhutta Swami Musti Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani Vishesha Shrunavadi Pranasya. So there are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. Blaspheme the very glorious or glorious persons of version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which often Vedas as fruitive activity karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive about chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhyaivacha Paritanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namaha. Jayananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shri Guru Vandana Mangala Charan ki jai. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chachurmiritam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vintam Tam Sajivam Sakritam Savadutam Paritana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paraman Sagana Advaita Shri Vishakamitam Cha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunnavadi Vasatyadi Satarine Namo Vishnu Padayo Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shiva Savana Videvi Deitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhujjo Jala Premadhya Shirupa Nuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravane Shimurtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Siddhanto Dantaharine Nama Gaura Kishoraya Sakya Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambhode Parabhujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakchirananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhavam Esvam Nirdesha Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhoma Sri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavaranayo Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnayo Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvamakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataro Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namastute Jayatam Suratupango Mama Mandamatir Gatir Matsarvasya Padam Bhujo Radha Madanamo Ano Divyarvindaranya Kalpadumadha Shmaranagara Shingasanasto Shmaradha Shila Govinda Devo Prishtalivi Shivamano Shmaram Shmara Sarasaram Bhivam Shvata Tatastita Karshan Venusanar Gopir Gopinath Shriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rusavano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Guru Pranam Bhaktanam Ki Jai Shri Sangita Ki Jai
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakarasattva Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vritesa Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Brahma Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ayunam Kwanandam Aravinda Dalayataksham Arhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shyamam Jivanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Puran Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadurlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Satavatsala Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manasobuni Pungamanam Sopyastiyat Prapadasim Yavichintya Tatve Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitum Jagadanda Kotim Yaschakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayayatanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitaistavanti Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananta Chinmaya Rasapati Bhavitavis Tabirya Eva Nija Rupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatistan Nana Avatar Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhupato Jagaranda Koti Kotisvasesi Vasadadi Vibhuti Minam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Asesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagaranda Satani Sute Trigunya Tad Vishaya Veda Vitaya Manam Sadva Vulambi Parasatvam Visuddha Satvam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Yapraninam Pratifulam Smaratam Upetya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jayaya Jasram Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Talecha Tasya Devi Maheso Aditama Sutesu Tesu Tete Prabhavini Jaya Vitasya Yena Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shististati Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Apiyasya Chichesta Tesa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Siram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritagasti Hetu Yasam Bhutam Apitata Samupaitika Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deepartsa Revita Santanam Abhyapetya Deepayate Vivita Hetu Samadharma Yastadrigevi Hicha Vishnu Tayavibhati Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narnava Jale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanta Saroma Kupa Adhara Satima Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamatava Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagadanda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalaviseso Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Basman Yatasma Sakalesu Nijesu Teja Swayam Kiyat Prakatayat Apitatva Tatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidanu Karta Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidai Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihantar Malavasya Jagatrayasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Maruti Sascha Kalasta Tatma Manasati Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visantiyam Cha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sagalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakra Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Sutayastapam Simamadi Kita Patagava Dayasta Jiva Yadata Mata Vipava Prakata Prabhava Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhan Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdhati Tinkchu Dati Bhajam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bhitti Vatsal Yamoho Guru Gora Visevya Bhava Sanchintya Tasya Sadrisim Tanamapurete Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Drama Bhumi Dramani Chidhari Manetoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasaki Chiranandam Jyoti Param Apitada Swadhyam Apicha Sayatra Shiradi Vishavadi Shirabi Vyasta Sumahan Nimesar Dakyo Vavajiti Nahiya Tripisamaye Bhajay Svita Dvipantamaham Iya Golokamitiam Idvetantas Te Santakshite Virachara Katipaye Guru Vastika prayers Ki Jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by delivering the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. For my respectful base, not the lotus feet is such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing, playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who at different times make different tastes or arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. For I might humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master to be honored as much the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is the bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraja Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 3, Verse number 25. Tata Katipayer Masaya. Actually, we're going to do 24, I'm sorry. Puryam Kadachit Kridadibir Yaduboja Kumarakai Kopita Munaya Sepur Bhagavan Matakovida. Puryam, in the city of Dwarka. Kadachit, once upon a time. Kridadibi, by sporting activities. Yadu, the descendants of Yadu. Boja, the descendants of Boja. Kumarakai, princes. Kopita, became angry. Munaya, the great sages. Sepu, cursed. Bhagavat, the personality of Godhead. Mata, desire. Kovida, cognizant. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Once upon a time, great sages were made angry by the sporting activities of the princely descendants of the Yadu and Boja dynasties, and thus, as desired by the Lord, the sages cursed them. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The associates of the Lord, who were playing the part of princely descendants of the Yadu and Boja dynasties, were not ordinary living entities. It is not possible that they could offend any saintly man or sage, nor could the sages, who were all pure devotees of the Lord, be influenced to anger by any of the sporting activities of the princes born in the holy dynasties of Yadu or Boja, wherein the Lord himself appeared as a descendant. The cursing of the princes by the sages was another transcendental pastime of the Lord to make a show of anger. The princes were cursed in order that one may know that even the descendants of the Lord, who could never be vanquished by any act of material nature, were subjected to the reactions of anger by great devotees of the Lord. One should therefore take great care and attention not to commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Once upon a time, great sages were made angry by the sporting activities of the princely descendants of the Yadu and Bhoja dynasties, and thus, as desired by the Lord, the sages cursed them. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this brings up a subject that is difficult to understand because it's illusory. There are purposely put, these illusory stories are purposely put in the Mahabharata and other parts of the Vedas to bewilder the asuras and to convince them that Krishna is not the personality of Godhead. Now you might ask the question, why would Krishna do such a thing? Well, this will be explained in the 16th chapter in a few minutes. But if we go to Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 23, verses 117 and 118, this is explained by Prabhupada, and then he gives other references of Jiva Goswami to hear more what you would call complete explanations. In any case, it says, Moshala Lila Ara Krishna Antardana Keshavatara Arayata Viruddha Vyakayana Mahisi Harana Adi Sabha Maya Maya Vyakya Sikaila Yaiche Susidanta Haya. And it means illusory stories opposed to the conclusions of Krishna consciousness concern, 1, the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, which is what we're reading today. 2, Krishna's disappearance. 3, the story that Krishna and Balaram arise from a black hair and a white hair of Shirodakshai Vishnu. And 4, the story about the kidnapping of the queens of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami the proper conclusions of these stories. And in the purport it says, or Prabhupada says, due to envy, many asuras describe Krishna to be like a black crow or an incarnation of a hare. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami how to counteract all these asuric explanations of Krishna. The word kaka means crow, and kesha means hair. The asuras describe Krishna as an incarnation of a crow, an incarnation of a Sudra or a blackish tribe, and an incarnation of a hare, not knowing that the word kesha means ka-isha, or that ka means Lord Brahma, and Isha means Lord. Thus, Krishna is the Lord of Lord Brahma. He's not a crow or born of a blackish tribe or an incarnation of a hare. So, there is such a thing as called euphemistic connections, or through consonants. So, that is used in the Sanskrit language to create euphemistic blending of words. So when they take out some either consonants or consonants to make this connection of two words more easily pronounceable in a verse, there is a specific way of how you separate them back to the original. Well, the Mayavadis and the speculators take advantage of that splitting of words in order to misinterpret Shastric evidence. And it's a very, let's say, nasty thing to do. But they do that in order to get meanings that they want instead of the actual meaning of the verse. So this happens all the time. when the Mayavadis misinterpret the scriptures. So, here's an example of it. When there's the word kaka, which means crow, and kesha, which means hair. So when you have the word kaisha, or kaisha, the way to correctly separate that word is ka-isha, which means, ka means Lord Brahma, and isha means the Lord. So therefore, kaisha means the Lord of Lord, the Lord of Lord Brahma, or Krishna. However, they separate the word in an incorrect way and come up with Krishna's a black crow, or he's a black hair, and this is his origin. So these are unfortunate things, but fortunately we have the explanations of the Goswamis to counteract these phony separations of the words done by the Mayavadis. So some of Krishna's pastimes are mentioned in the Mahabharata as Moshala Leela. So what we're talking about today in verse 24 is Moshala Leela. Moshala, it refers to like an iron rod. So there's a long story behind that. We'll come to that in a minute. So these include the stories of, so Moshala Leela also may include other stories that are illusory. And here's a description of them. These include the stories of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, that's what we're hearing today, Krishna's disappearance, his being pierced by a hunter's arrow, the story of Krishna as being an incarnation of a piece of hair, Kesha Avatara, as well as Mahishi Harana, the kidnapping of Krishna's queens. Actually, these are not factual, but are related for the bewilderment of the Asuras, who want to prove that Krishna is an ordinary human being. They are false in the sense that these pastimes are not eternal. So that's the point right there. Krishna consciousness is concerned with what is sat, eternally true. Nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata ubayor apidrista natas tvanias tatvadarsidihi. So we've gone over that verse before, but let's look at it one more time. This is in Bhagavad Gita, verse number 'It's right in the beginning, and verse number 16. And it says, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there's no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So, in the purport, Prabhupada says, there is no endurance of the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science. And thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently. And the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing, and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Purana 2.12.38, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jo Timsi Vishnu Bhuvanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of the truth. So, what is non-existent is things that are temporary. So therefore, they have no permanency. Therefore, in a sense, they are illusory. They only exist for a certain period of time, then they disappear. However, devotees are concerned with what is sat, which has eternal endurance, and it's never disappears. So therefore, the pastimes of Krishna are eternal. But there are some illusory pastimes, such as the Moshe Lila pastimes, that are temporary. So therefore, they bewilder the Mayavadis and the demons, but not the devotees, because they understand the difference between Sat and Asat. So if we don't understand the difference between Sat and Asat, we become put into a state of delusion. So it says, this is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the reestablishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself, the difference between oneself and the Supreme being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. So because we are part and parcel of Krishna, if we analyze ourselves very carefully, we will understand many things about Krishna. And this is a very important point for us, because being part and parcel of Krishna, we have many qualities that we share with Krishna. Not everything, but many. And if we can understand that, then we are no longer under the illusion of being this material body. Rather, we are an eternal soul, coexistent with Krishna. He has an eternal soul. We have an eternal soul. So we're coexistent with Krishna. He has unlimited knowledge, and we can partake of that unlimited knowledge, but we can never equal it, because it's always increasing. And he has unlimited ecstatic pastimes, which we can also take part in them, but we can never emulate them or surpass them, because they're always increasing. So there are some things that we're coexistent with Krishna, and some things that we can share, but we can't actually emulate, right? Okay, so once we understand this, that means that we have a lot of things in common with Krishna. And if we begin to understand what those things are, we lose the falsity of identifying with the body, and now we begin to identify with the soul and the soul's eternal relationship with Krishna. So it says, one can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. So, everything is coming from Krishna. That's the point. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. So therefore there are superior and inferior natural sequences. What's the natural sequence? Like, for example, there's an origin and things are expanded from that origin. So that's a natural sequence. And then there are things that are repeated. So you have, like in nature, you have these cycles that are constantly being repeated, such as the carbon cycle, the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the phosphorus cycle. This keeps nature self-sufficient and self-purifying. So all these ideas that, we can't live on this planet anymore, we've ruined the climate, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. The nature's always renewing itself because of these cycles and these sequences. Just like there's birth, death, old age, and disease. There's also the cycle of reincarnation. See? So these things cannot, these are laws of nature, they cannot be changed. And they're not subject to being destroyed either, because they're established by the Lord. So there are many sequences like this in this material world that are coming from Krishna and being maintained by him. And there are spiritual sequences and material sequences. So it says in the Vedanta Sutra, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there's no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. So, what is the beginning of that enlightenment? Well, it says, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaran vivananjara tata dehantara prapti jirastatra namuyati. So that is 2nd chapter, 13th verse. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Everybody's bewildered by that change in the material world. All the materialists are bewildered. You see, so this is the beginning of Krishna's instruction. In fact, he says, Latvevaham jatu nasam latvam nemi janadvipa lachaivana bhavishyama sarvibhayam atakparam. He says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So this is the full immortality of the soul. And this is what we share with Krishna. We're coexistent with Krishna as eternal souls. Now, we've explained how the Catholic Church deviated from this understanding. If you want, we can go over it again, or if you remember what we said, then we don't have to. They believe now, because of the slippery slope started by Aristotle, and then continued by Augustine, and then furthered by Origen, and then finally by Aquinas. These are all top philosophers. Of course, Aristotle was not a Christian. He was existing 500 years before the Christian era started. But he started the slippery slope by saying there's two types of souls. There's an immortal soul and an immortal soul. And then Augustine further complicated things, and then Origen added something else, and then finally Aquinas, let's say, validated it as Catholic philosophy. And that is that the soul, the individual souls like you and me, we only begin at the point of conception. That means that we're not fully immortal. And when there's the final judgment of all souls, according to Christianity, only a few can attain immortality, and many others are either condemned to suffer eternally, or they die. The soul is destroyed. So this is all basically speculation, but it's become Catholic philosophy, and other Christians also accept most of it. Okay, especially that the soul begins at conception. All right, so we see that this one verse, 2nd chapter, verse 12, says that the individual soul, like you and me, or the jivas, we have full immortality before birth in this body, and after death in the body. And that's one major difference between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. and Krishna consciousness. Okay, so the beginning of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita is that we are not this body. We have an eternal soul. Without that understanding, every decision we make will be wrong. And this is what, unfortunately, is taught in schools also. And therefore, having incomplete knowledge, we cannot really understand who we are and what this purpose of life and how to attain that purpose of life. And this is another reason why Einstein was not able to complete the unified field theory that he worked on for the 30 last years of his life. And he was not able to do it. Now, why is that? It's because he had incomplete knowledge. He only understood some things about the material world. He did not have knowledge of the unseen material world. He had some knowledge of it, but it was not complete. And he had no knowledge of the spiritual world. So how can he write an equation that includes, that explains everything? That's what the unified field theory is. It explains everything in one equation. So he could not do it because he had very partial knowledge. And the same thing when we become convinced by modern education that we don't have an eternal soul. It's just we only have temporary existence in the material body. When you die, it's all over. Then we cannot understand what is the truth and what is our real potential. So that means that every decision we make will be wrong. Okay, so coming back to the emotional Leela, why would Krishna put something purposely illusory in the Mahabharata or other parts of the Vedas? This is explained in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, starting with verse number 16, which says, "Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they," meaning the asuras, "become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell." This is what's happening today to many, many people. Right? And it says, the Prabhupada says in the purport, the demoniac man knows no limit to his desire to acquire money. That is unlimited. He thinks only of how much assessment he has just now and schemes to engage that stock of wealth further and further. For that reason, he does not hesitate to act in any sinful way and so deals in the black market for illegal gratification. So, Modi pulled the rug off of all the people engaging in black market in India when he changed the currency. He did that on purpose, right? And a lot of people really hate him for doing that. But it was necessary because there was so much cheating going on. You know? And that doesn't mean that cheating stops, but it put a shock on everyone when he changed the currency. You had to give in the old currency and get the new currency. And then he found out, who has what at that point, right? Because people were hiding a lot of that money. Okay, so for this reason, he does not hesitate to act in any sinful way, and so deals in the black market for illegal gratification. He is enamored by the possessions he has already, such as land, family, house, and bank balance, and he is always planning to improve them. He believes in his own strength, and he does not know that whatever he is gaining is due to his past good deeds. He is given an opportunity to accumulate such things, but he has no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his mass of wealth is due to his own endeavor. The demoniac person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. According to the law of karma, a man takes his birth in a high family or becomes rich or very well educated or very beautiful because of good work in the past. the demoniac think that all these things are accidental and due to the strength of one's personal ability. That would be a description of Mr. Trump, you see. And many other people like him, you know, the Bezos and Elon Musk and Mr. Gates and others. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty, and education. Anyone who comes into competition with such a demoniac man is his enemy. So right now you see there's a big argument going on between Bezos and Mr. Biden. Bezos is accusing him of ruining the economy and not understanding anything about how to manage an economy, and thinking that the decisions that he's making are actually helpful, but actually they're destroying the American economy. So this is what happens when there are economic downturns and people become really upset because their 401ks are going down, and their stock options are getting down, they're losing their jobs, or they're losing money. When everything is okay, and people are making money, they think, oh, this is due to our intelligence and our good management. And then when everything's going the other way, they start blaming each other, right? What is the real fault? The real fault is lust, anger, and greed. That's the real fault. And you cannot have lusty, angry, and greedy people running a country or managing a country. It's going to become a complete failure. There are many demoniac people, and each is enemy to the others. This enmity, or this hatred, becomes more and more deep between persons, then between families, then between societies, and at last between nations. Well, that's what we see now between Russia and Ukraine. Therefore, there is constant strife, war, and enmity all over the world. So this is another point Prabhupada makes, that you can never really stop war. Like, there used to be the League of Nations that failed to stop war. Now there's the United Nations. That's also failing to stop war. Although the whole purpose of it is to stop war, you see. Because there are certain things you cannot stop. As long as people are in the modes of ignorance and passion, you'll never be able to stop war and strife, because they have these gigantic false egos, and they become rivals, and they become antagonistic to each other. You know, and it begins on an individual level, and it grows on the family level, and then it grows on the ethnic level and racial level until it grows to the national level, and then you have, like what we see now, this Russia and Ukraine. Each demoniac person thinks that he can live at the sacrifice of all others. Generally, a demoniac person thinks of himself as the supreme God, and a demoniac preacher tells his followers, "Why are you seeking God elsewhere? You are all yourselves God. Whatever you like, you can do. Don't believe in God. Throw away God. God is dead." These are the demoniac's preachings. Although, there are books written like that. God is Dead by Friedrich Nietzsche. He was a German philosopher. So he was trying to make 2 points when he said that. He said, one is really that God is dead, because people don't really believe in him anymore. And the second is that even the believers, they don't believe in him because they don't follow his instructions properly. So he had two-pronged meaning or implication when he said God is dead, and that was the title of his book. Although the demoniac person sees others equally rich and influential, or even more so, he thinks that no one is richer than he, and that no one is more influential than he. As far as promotion to the higher planetary system is concerned, he does not believe in performing yagyas or sacrifices. Demons think that they will manufacture their own process of yajna and prepare some machine by which they will be able to reach any higher planet. Well, there you go. That's SpaceX and all these things. So you see how all this is predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. There's nothing new. This is what Ravana was trying to do by building a staircase to the heavenly planets. And so all these things are predictable. And Bhagavatam, if you read up to the 12th canto, you'll see it's all written and it's all been predicted. The best example of such a demoniac man was Ravana. He offered a program to the people by which he would prepare a staircase so that anyone could reach the heavenly planets without performing sacrifices, such as are as prescribed in the Vedas. Similarly, in the present age, such demoniac men are striving to reach the higher planetary systems by mechanical arrangements. These are examples of bewilderment. The result is that without their knowledge, they are gliding toward hell. Here, the Sanskrit word mohojala is very significant. Jala means net, like fish caught in a net. They have no way to come out. So in other words, he's saying they're going to fail completely in all their attempts to go to other planets and to do things mechanically. There is a process to go to other planets. It's not mechanical. It's explained by Prabhupada in Easy Journey to Other Planets. And you notice the name, Easy Journey to Other Planets. There's nothing easy about SpaceX trying to reach Mars, right? And it's usually a one-way trip, meaning everyone's going to die. So that goes on that trip. Okay, then the next verse, 17, says, self-complacent and always impudent. Impudent means they're always argumentative and they refuse to accept anything bona fide, and they just keep speculating, and they're disrespectful. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. In the purport, Prabhupada says, thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demoniacs sometimes perform so-called religion or sacrificial rites, and since they do not believe in authority, they are very impudent. You can look that word up, I-M-P-U-D-E-N-T. It means they're always very puffed up, full of false ego, disrespectful, and outlandishly challenging authority.
It's saying not showing due respect for another person.
Right. Okay, look up the word swathe. I was mispronouncing it. I think it was yesterday or the day before. S-W-A-T-H-E. Okay, so I used the word. I said they take a large swathe of land, or they take a large swathe of something, right? So the meaning of it is it's based first on the sickle. What is a sickle? A sickle is what you use to cut grass before they had weed whackers and things like that. It's this implement that has a large curved blade, and you probably see it in India. And you go like this, and it cuts the grass, right? So that's called a sickle. And then when you cut the grass, how much you can cut with one blow of the sickle is a swathe, right? But then they expanded the meaning to mean you envelop a large thing, like a piece of land, or and anyway, look up the secondary meanings of swathe, and it's pronounced swathe. It's not the way I pronounced it yesterday. Go ahead.
So it says a long strip or a large area, especially of land. An example is huge swathes of rainforest are being
Okay,
cleared.
see, that's the way I used it yesterday, and then I said, look it up, but Adidev was not able to understand exactly what was being said, right? So you can use that not only in how much grass you can cut with one blow of the sickle, but how much it's expanded to enveloping a large part of land or something. Population, right? Yeah. So it's an interesting word. I don't think you've ever heard this word before, right? Yeah. Okay. So common men advertise them as God. That means these rich guys, the big billionaires, common man advertise them as God and worship them, and by the foolish they are considered advanced in the principles of religion or in the principles of spiritual knowledge. So these are also the false gurus who also get to be very rich by taking the money of their disciples. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. Actually, there are so many restrictions for one who has renounced this world. The demons, however, do not care for such restrictions. They think that whatever path one can create is one's own path. There is no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. So one time, Prabhupada was asked, I said, what do you think of Mahesh Yogi? He said he is not standard. So that was his answer. So what did he mean he is not standard? That means he's not following parampara. He's making up his own parampara. He's making up his own standards. See? So that's the difference between bona fide and unbona fide gurus. The unbona fide so-called gurus, the kangaroos, they make up their own lineage. They make up their own philosophy. They renounce Vedic Shastra, and they just say, yeah, well, you don't have to read these old books. I'm here and I'm in the flesh and I'm the present avatar of God. And just listen to what I say. So this is the way they get away with things. And the first and foremost thing they do is to separate people from bona fide shastras. So that is the biggest mischief right there. So that way there's no way of validating what they say is true or false. That's why we have in Krishna consciousness the triangle of verification. So who remembers what the triangle of verification is? Yeah, there are 3 points in a triangle, right? Now when you can connect the 3 points, you get a triangle. So it's Krishna's words, or Shastra, and then sadhus, or acharyas, who repeat the same thing. And then the present guru, who also repeats the same thing of the acharyas and the Shastra, right? Or Krishna's words. And there's Shastra, there is Shruti and Smriti. So Shruti is what Krishna speaks himself. Smriti is what's spoken about Krishna by pure devotees. And therefore, these are the 3 points of the triangle. When you can close the triangle, you know what's being said is true. If you can't close the triangle, like what happened in the case of Bali Maharaj, then you know that you cannot accept it as the truth. It's missing something. So that's what happened with Bali Maharaj. His guru violated the Shruti and Smriti, and therefore he said, well, I can't follow your instruction. So there is a test to see whether the guru is bona fide or not. This is it. If you can't close the triangle with something that the guru says, then it's not something that you should follow. Right? Just like in ISKCON, there was this one guru who deviated, and he said that women could become sannyasis. So he gave sannyasi status to several women. One of them went to Africa, and she was preaching in this country where there was a war going on. And one of the warlords that was defeating the government came to listen to one of her lectures. And during the lecture, she was saying that, this war should stop. You should put down your guns and make peace. What did he do? He sent several gunmen with machine guns and killed her, and some of her devotees. It's like tragedy, right? So we have to be very careful, and it all started by this guru giving sannyas to women, which is not supposed to happen. And women can live like sannyasis, just like anyone can live like a sannyasi if they want to, and it's okay. But to have the actual title, it's a different thing. And because women should be protected, they shouldn't be going out on their own, and they're preaching in the African country where there's a war and trying to tell the warlords, put down your guns. So they're not in the state of understanding what's being said. So all they understand is, oh, she must be on the other side. So they just sent some men with machine guns to kill her, right? So this is the danger of deviating from Shastric evidence. Okay, so in the Vedic time, there were women who were leaders of society, like the mother of the Kurus, Satyavati. She was a leader, right? Everyone listened to what she said, right? And she ordered Vyasadeva, right? And he followed her order, right? So we have to be careful about the roles that people have. One can be a world leader without having a title. And another one would be Devaki. She was able to stop, Arjuna from killing the person that killed her kids, and she overrode Krishna. Right? She was a world leader because of her purity and her humanity. So she stopped Arjuna from killing Aswatthama, although Krishna ordered him to kill Aswatthama. And then finally Krishna acquiesced also to her request and respected it. So we see you can be a world leader even as a woman. There's no obstacle to it. But normally women should not accept certain roles that are more apt to be held by men. But yet, they can have the same prestige and the same authority. So authority is not something that you rubber stamp. It's something that you attain by purity of Krishna consciousness. See? Okay. So, therefore it says, they think that whatever path one can create in one's own path is one's own path. There is no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. So that's why Prabhupada, when he was asked, well, what do you think about Mahesh Yogi? He said, he's not standard. He's not following the standard path of genuine gurus. The word avidipurvakam, meaning a disregard for the rules and regulations, is especially stressed here. These things are always due to ignorance and illusion. By the way, do you know why the Beatles rejected Mahesh Yogi? He was their guru. And then they rejected him. You know why? He got involved in an illicit relationship with a movie star. Yeah. And that turned them off. Yeah. Although they themselves were engaged in illicit relationships, but still, that turned them off. So then, now, verse 18 in chapter 16 begins to explain exactly the problem of being a demon. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. So it says, a demoniac person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. he is envious of both the scriptures and the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is exactly what the demoniac so-called gurus are doing today. They will minimize or reject scriptural evidence, because that's the only way you could see if they're bona fide or not. So they have to do that in order to create their own, let's say, legitimacy. They have to reject and deviate from scriptural evidence. And this is what's being said here. This is caused by his so-called prestige and his accumulation of wealth and strength. He does not know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self. So, when you become envious of Krishna, you become envious of yourself. And how do we know someone is envious of themselves? They refuse to accept any good advice based on Shastric evidence. They refuse to become Krishna conscious. This is the symptom of a demon. Being envious of the scriptures and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and denies the scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. So here you have the example of the so-called Nityananda. In all of his temples, his picture is above any deity that they have. Right? Have you seen that? Yeah. Right. So that exactly explains his position. He is envious of Krishna or Shiva or whatever, and he puts himself superior to all of them. Right? He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one can equal him in strength, power, or wealth, he can act in any way, and no one can stop him. If he has an enemy who might check the advancement of his sensual activities, he makes plans to cut him down by his own power. So then the next verse says, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So that's why here it says that actually these are not factual stories, but are related for the bewilderment of the asuras who want to prove that Krishna is an ordinary human being. They are false, and in the sense that these pastimes are not eternal, nor are they transcendental or spiritual. There are many people who are by nature averse to the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Such people are called asuras. They have mistaken ideas about Krishna. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the asuras are given a chance to forget Krishna more and more, birth after birth. Thus they make their appearance in the family of asuras and continue this process, being kept in bewilderment about Krishna. Asuras, in the dress of sannyasis, even explain Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in different ways according to their own imaginations. Thus they continue to remain asuras birth after birth. Well, this is what Krishna says in this verse, 16th chapter, 19th verse. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Now in the purport to that, Prabhupada says, and we'll end with this, in this verse it is clearly indicated that the placing of a particular individual soul in a particular body is the prerogative of the supreme will. In other words, prerogative means this is the special power of Krishna. He does this. He decides what body a person is going to take in their next life. Okay? It's not the person that decides that. It's Krishna who decides it. So you can look that word up, prerogative, P-R-E. E-R-O-G-A-T-I-V-E.
It's the right or privilege exclusive to a particular individual or class.
There it is. Right. The demoniac person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims. But his next birth will depend upon the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not on himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, it is stated that an individual soul, after his death, is put into the womb of a mother where he gets a particular type of body under the supervision of superior power. Therefore, in the material existence, we find so many species of life, animals, insects, men, and so on. All are arranged by the superior power. They are not accidental. As for the demoniac, it is clearly said here that they are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious, the lowest of mankind. Such demoniac species of men are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. The many kinds of hunters in the jungle are considered to belong to the demoniac species of life. Whoa. Then the next verse, attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Okay, we'll stop right there and continue tomorrow. Are there any questions? So these are two shocking things. One is that there are actually illusory stories in the Mahabharata and some other Vedic literatures, specifically to convince demons that God is not, Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Krishna will continually put such demons into demoniac species so that they just stay stuck in the cycle of birth and death.
So Maharaj, then this, I perpetually cast them. So which, again, when we were talking about Christianity, where like it's is either this or that, whereas here in, isn't it that every living entity has a choice to make eventually, but if Krishna is forcing them perpetually into the demoniac, what is the chance for them to come out of that demoniac?
To meet a genuine devotee like Prabhupada, who will instruct them.
Is that also Krishna's mercy, right? Like in
well, it's not only Krishna's mercy. Of course, it is Krishna's mercy, but no, where it says in the, one second, I'll tell you. Well, anyway, it says, Krishna himself says that devotees are sometimes more merciful than himself. Yeah, we've read that several times. Why? Because the devotee becomes more merciful than the Lord. It's also in Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's see. The devotees are more kind than the Lord and take risks to approach ignorant men. Okay, so this is, 1 second, I'll read that to you. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness, and therefore Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risks, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. There it is. 3rd chapter, verse number 29. And he says it in another place also. In the 18th chapter, it says, in the 67th verse of this chapter, 18, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gita's being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is for the devotees only. But it so happens that sometimes a devotee of the Lord will hold open class, and in that class, not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such persons hold open class. It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men meaning men and women, right, who are not envious of Krishna. They have faith in him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Okay? So, that's why someone like me is able to become a devotee, because Prabhupada took that risk to preach to people like me, who had no connection at all to Vedic Dharma. And but I was not, you would say, a determined antagonist of God. I had some idea of God, and when I heard Bhagavad Gita spoken by the devotees, it clicked in my mind that this is something I should follow. Right? So therefore, the devotees are more, let's say, kind than the Lord, but understanding the purpose of the Lord. What is the purpose of the Lord? It's to bring everyone back to Godhead. That's his purpose. And then the purpose of the material world is give people a chance to come back to Godhead. Okay, any other questions?
It's not a question, Maharaj, but just to add to what you said. Yeah, but person has to have something already inside. There's inclination, maybe mode of goodness. That's very easy for person to. Well, I want to share yesterday's example when I went to food truck. It was
you went on the food truck.
Yeah, I went yesterday, right, Sunday. So basically, it's very quiet day yesterday because of the maybe long weekend, and all students have been on holiday, vacation. So we have some food left. So
you had some food left.
Yeah,
I mean, so you mumble your words.
Yeah. Okay. So we have some food left more to distribute. So I just took some boxes. There were some bus which stops next to our U district. So they have stopped there. So I just took a box along with one of the girls who was supporting. And then we tried to offer him. He said, "Oh, we don't eat meat." Okay, this is pure vegetarian. "Oh, we don't want even halal also. I don't eat halal, or I don't eat meat or anything. I don't want."
Who was that? The bus driver or somebody else?
Bus driver. And he's like, yeah.
So what's your point?
No. So my point was, like, some people has that intrinsic quality, so it is helpful for them to quickly adapt the spirituality. So this was the example what I showed. Like he was reluctant to.
Did he finally accept the plate?
Yeah, he accepted.
Oh, okay.
He took 2 boxes.
Once he was sure there was not halal.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure it is no meat, no halal, nothing.
No halal.
Yeah,
so he's definitely not a Muslim.
Yeah, so we convinced him. So yeah, okay, thank you, and then so he took that 2 boxes. In fact, instead of 1 box, he took 2 boxes.
Okay.
So because it's a vegetarian food, so even if he has no spirituality or anything, but some people has that quality of mode of goodness which help them to quickly adapt to spirituality.
Right. Very good. Yeah. So those are the type of people who, when they hear about Krishna, they can become devotees. They have that inclination. Right. Okay. Any other questions?
Maybe the people who are not even ready to accept prasadam, even before the spiritual instructions, just even prasadam, if they're not ready to accept, they're probably the unfortunate who don't even want to take
Oh yeah, we see a lot of those people in Sankirtan. You say, "Oh, it's a free burrito." No, I don't want it. I don't want it. Yeah. Or they'll personally go on the other side of the street to avoid us. Yeah. But then there are other people that say, "Yeah, man, oh, thank you," and they accept it and they eat it. And So that's why we're giving out prasadam. We're giving everybody a chance. We're not denying anyone. They can be the worst person in the world. Right? Okay, whole glory to Prabhupada. You have a question? An observation, okay.
Related to burrito, if we are directly giving,
Yeah.
many people have doubt whether it has, should we trust this person? Because we haven't established any connection, directly giving. Should we speak and, inform them what we are, and then, like, the way we are doing is, we're just giving.
Well, I keep telling the kids not to do that. That you have to say, this is a free burrito, and you have the ingredients also there.
We should also inform who
So,
we
I
are.
mean, before it was even worse. We didn't have the bag with the label or nothing. We were just handing it like that, They didn't know. But, that's why we put the bag with the label on it and the ingredients, so they know what it is. And if they get sick, they know who got them sick, which has not happened, so thank God. No, the whole idea of giving prasadam, see, that's why I don't really like it when the kids are handing it like that, because the whole idea is to talk to the person, to stop them and talk to them. That's why I asked you to come out every week, because you're a good preacher. See, when a kid just hands them something, we're missing the actual purpose. The purpose is not simply giving the prasadam. It's to make friends with a person and talk to them and explain, get them to ask a question. What's in it? What's this? Why are you doing this? Just handing it to them, they miss that whole interaction. So it's not actually good just to hand it like that. And then now, like when we went on Sankirtan 2 days ago, when we first arrived, some girl came running up to me, and she said, "Oh, I love your cookies so much. Can I have one?" I said, "Sure you can." So she got the first cookie. So she was like really excited to get that cookie, right? Because she's had it before. So this is what we want. We want that excitement. Yeah, we want them to be excited to get prasadam. So it's a long process, and to actually build up this relationship with people. That's why we have to keep going week after week, and also the quality of the prasadam has to be much better. I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed now in the quality of the prasadam. At first, it was really good, the khichdi, but now it's deteriorating because of different reasons. So I'm going to address that. The quality of the cookie is first class. The quality of the burrito is good. It's good. It can be improved some more. And but the khichdi, the quality has been going down, so we have to discuss that. Because this is the only chance people have to come in contact with Krishna. It's prasad, for most people, it's prasadam. And it's got to be first class. It's got to be very high quality, right? Just like the cookie is a high quality cookie. We're spending a lot of money making that cookie, right? And we're handing it out free. And we're doing that because we want people to get a taste. It's just like Gurunga, he tasted it and he wouldn't stop eating it, and then he ordered 14 of them or something like that, because he realized that this is not an ordinary cookie. There's plenty of cookies out there, right? But he could see that this was a high quality cookie. So everything we do has to be like that. See? Like, for example, the pizza has become high quality. That's why it's really popular, and hopefully today we'll be able to, offer a lot of them. Last night they served out over 600 pizza pieces. Last night, that's a lot, right? So you see, the people have developed the taste, and by doing this every week, we've trained our devotees to make the pizza really, in a professional way. So let's see what happens today. We're going to need a lot of volunteers to come, and participate in the big prasadam distribution, because it's going to be a nice day today. So that means there could be 15,000 or more people at this 4th of July program.
It's happening after 3 years, right? 2 years. So a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to come.
Which festival in Redwood? People just poured in.
Yeah, so today should be a big thing, and then Derby Days, Rath Yatra, that's another big thing, and then we should have plenty of cookies for that also. We don't have any cookies for today, do we? No. That's all right, we have pizza today, so. Okay, we'll stop there.
Maharaj, one more request.
Yeah.
When we give the burritos, we just write ingredients, but we never write from where we are giving, whether it's which organization or just.
It's
we
there
write
in small print.
It's not big, Maharaj.
It's not big yet. Yeah, well,
Maybe goodness cookies like message.
Message or something we can.
sure, we can do it. Okay. You have to keep improving things. Haribol. Okay, all glories to Prabhupada. Vishnupad, Paramansa, Pararajagachasta, Tadasata, Shishimadi's Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, Prime Minister Gohol, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mayapura Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samudra, all glories to Samudra devotees, all glories to Samudra, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavani ki jai. The Lotus Feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is that my consciousness is purified by the words emanating from his lotus
mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mystery, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of devotees. O master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the world, all over the 3 realms.